Rahim. How are you, student? Hope you're fine and doing well. In our second lecture, first lecture I've already conducted the two session for the installation and the configurations of the Android. But unfortunately, some of the students they did not attend that session. So I will help you now during the lecture how you can install and configure uh, your Android Studio. But before going there, let me just tell you about what we are going to cover today. Number one, first of all, I will explain a basic component of the Android Studio IDE environment, IDE environment, integrated development environment. First of all, I will let you know the different component of the IDE, integrated development environment, where we have to develop our application or write down the code for the application. And secondly, then we will try to make a small application. First of all, I will make a one application for the Toast. Toast basically we are using uh, to display a kind of message. If you want to display a message, so in that case you can use the Toast class of the Android Studio. And number third, we will also talk about and we will make a two more small application for to cover the intent topic. Basically, there are two types of intents. Number one, which is called implicit intent, and number second, which is called explicit intent. So we will try to cover today. Our objective is to basically cover explanations about the ID environment, then tools, then intent. So let's start the Android Studio, and then I will let you know how we can work with the different uh, type of the classes. So once you will open your application Android Studio, so you will see here the first of all you have to click if it is installed successfully. So you have to click on the new Android application, and then you have to choose initially for a couple of lecture you have to always choose here empty activity. I need the one blank activity. Activity is it's a kind of just like in HTML. If you remember, you have studied in second semester HTML. In HTML, the place where you're designing your interface, that is called web page. In Visual Basic, that is called forms. In Android Studio, this is called activity. So initially you have to just select the empty activity, and then we will design as per our own requirement. Then you have to click on the next button, and furthermore, now from here you have to give a one proper name to your application. I'm just giving here my or application first application. You can just give that any other name. uh, this is your target location where you want to save your application, and then select the language. uh, Language, because we are studying Android Studio using Java, so we will select here the Java. Android basically you can develop your app using the two languages. Number one is the Kotlin, number is the Java. But because you have already studied in the previous semesters about the Java, so we will use the Java syntax. This is the language we have selected here the Java. Now here the SDK version. As I have already explained in the slides, and might be you have studied go through all the slides. So I just told you, like always, whenever you want to develop your application, so try to select the minimum level. Just like if you will select, look, I have just selected here Android 8.0. It's mean that it will just cover only 6% devices around the world. So it's mean that only higher versions of the mobile only they can run. If you will develop your application using Oreo Android 8 API level, so only higher version of those people who have the latest version of the uh, Android phone, so they can run your application. Just like for example those who have Galaxy S7, S8, S9 or S10. So how, what do you think, like how many people they might have a Galaxy S7 or Galaxy S8 or 9 or 10? There is a number of people in the world who still might be they are using Galaxy S2, S3, S4, S5, and 6. So always try to select like the minimum level. Like if I'm just selecting here Lollipop, it will, which is the SDK level, it will cover 85% device. So normally I will just select here Jelly Bean, which mean that almost 99.6% devices around the world, they will be able to run your application. And finally you have to click on the finish button. Okay, this process will take a few seconds. Like it's just loading your application, and you can just see here Gradle build. It's loading your application. Initially, you have here the two main files. The number one, which is called uh, activity.java, and the number second is your user interface where you want to design your application. It's not loaded yet properly because it's just giving you an error. Until it will not load, it will just give you here the few error. We will come back to this portion, but before that, let me just explain you the few basic things. Number one, let's come here. Let's click on the app, and here we have manifest, Android manifest.xml. So you can just see here, by the time you're trying to run your application, so first of all your um, Android will read the first file, which is called Android manifest.xml. It's reading this basic file. So it's mean that allow backup. You can just take the backup. What is the default icon? You can change this icon. This is the default icon for your. You can just see here the default icon, and what will be the label for your application, title for your application. You can just change welcome to my first application or Kardan University app. And round icon, what will be the default theme. So and similarly you can just see here dot main activity. Dot main activity is a file where we will write down our code, and you can just see here we have uh, main activity dot java. So now we have here one more view. uh, First of all, the manifest. So dot main activity where we have to write down the code. Coming back to this portion, then we have here Java. Within the Java, we have dot main activity. This is the one more important file where we have to write down the code. You can just go to this file directly from here, or either just by clicking on main activity.java, and then this is the place where you have to write down the code. On create mean that by the time this event is basically called automatically, if you will run your application and your application has been loaded successfully, so it will automatically execute the piece of code whatever you have here. So we will write down here the piece of code, but here whatever the activity you want to perform, that activity code you have to write down here. One more file we have here, folder we have here, which is called res. Res mean that resource. Sometime we might be you needed some default colors and default strings and default styles. So just like we have here only the default string, like resources mean that, let's say if you're trying to make application for Afghanistan. So in Afghanistan we have 34 or 32 provinces. So let's say I want to keep somewhere the list of all provinces name. So what I will just do here, I will just write down here, okay, the list of all provinces name. I will write down here a string, and then what is the first province name, which is Kabul. And then similarly I will write down here Kabul, and similarly you should just write down all the provinces name. But later on, with the help of proper example, by the time there will be the time to discuss the resource, I will properly explain the resource. But resources mean that you can just keep here the list of program, list of cities name, list of provinces name, list of country names. Not only the names, but you can also keep the some default colors. Just like here we have the primary color. This is the primary color we have, which is blue. And then we have the primary dark, which is in the shape of hash code shape, which is dark blue. And then we have accent color, which is a kind of green color. So even if you need the more color, you can just add, you can keep your under the resource file. If you need, then later on in your application, all these color, all these cities name or provinces name or country name, then you do not need to rewrite all these names. You can eventually you can get from the resource folder and then you can use it. That's basically the resource, one of the under the resource you have resource value. Beside this, we have the one layout. Like so far, we have only the one layout is available, which is the by default layout, um, which is activity main.xml. Activity main.xml is basically your user interface where you will design your user interface. What kind of control do you need? What type of application you are trying to make? So this is basically here. First of all, you have to design your application, and then you have to write down the code on the main activity.java. You can just change the view, and from this icon you can just see here by clicking on the design, it will redirect you on the design. So now you are on the design phase. So on this activity, basically you can just see we have nothing but just only the one control, label control, one text control, which is available here, and it is written there hello world, which is the default text. So this default text is automatically written there. If you want to go back to XML layout, either you can just click here, or alternatively you can just right click and then go to XML, go to XML, and there is a shortcut as well. There is a shortcut as well, and that shortcut is Control B. So if you will press here the Control B, it will directly go to that XML code portion. So this is also your resource. That's also your resource. But so far we have only one main activity, but we can add couple of more activities as well. Uh, in drawable normally we can just keep the different pictures, videos. If you have the default pictures, list of pictures of all provinces or picture of all countries, or pictures of or videos, so small videos you can just keep in the drawable. I will come back to the manifest, IMAP. Basically, here you can just keep the icon, as I just told you. Like the default icon has been already defined somewhere. If you will see in the manifest file, you have the icon. This is basically the default icon, uh, IC launcher. IC launcher. This information is getting um, from the IMAP, and it is the one icon, one Android icon. But you can just create your own icon as well, and then later on, if you need it, you can get these icon from your resource folder. One last thing we have here, and then we will straight away go back to the Toast program. Build.gather. In the build.gather, you can just see here we have the minimum SDK, which is 16. It's mean that almost 99.6% devices can run your application, but you are targeting the higher one, which is 29, which is Android 11. My target is Android 11, but this application can be run by the by the lower level, uh, those people who have the low configuration mobile, just like Galaxy S3, S4, S5, or S6. And beside this, in the build.gather, we are just keeping the SDK information, what is the minimum and what is the target. We are also keeping like this kind of information, like this is my version number 1. Later on, if you are launching the new version of this application, you can just change to 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. But right now we have only version number 1. uh, this is version number 1. And then version name, just like in by the time the Google have launched Android Studio, so they have given the different name, just like Oreo, Donut, and so on and so on. If you have any name, you can just specify here. Besides this, it's also keeping some dependency. We have the few default dependencies. These are the libraries which is by default embedded in your application. If you need any more, so you can just add library manually here. But later on, it's not a time to discuss about the how to import the library. That's we will discuss in detail in the rest of our lecture. But right now, you can just keep that information is this is the area where we are just bringing we are importing the some libraries of the SDK of Android Studio. These are the few default one. Few default libraries has been already added. If you need any more, you can add directly um, by writing the names of the library. Coming back to furthermore, let me just close all the unnecessary things and then coming back to the important one, which is XML and main activity.xml and main activity.java. So let's just start. My first program will be I want that, like, first of all I need the one button, and when someone click on the button, it should display welcome to my first application. So uh, okay, okay, now we have here only the one text is written here, which is hello world. First of all, you have to go to the XML view, and initially we will work with the kind of view which is called relative. A relative mean that, as I just already explained in the previous slide, um, tabular, grid view, linear, but initially I will try to use the relative layout for the couple of 4 or 5 lectures, and then we will discuss the rest of the layouts as well. Relative mean that we want to keep the control on the user interface as per our own choice. Let's say let's go back to the design mode. Let's say I want to just I need the one button here, one here, one here, one text box here, or in the middle, or in the bottom, anywhere. So based on your own choice, you can keep one of the beauty of the relative layout. You can just you can keep the control based on your own requirement where you need it. So um, let's go there, and we have here the relative layout. Now this is the starting one, and then this is the closing tag. This is the closing tag. Okay, what you needed? I do not need the text view control, so let's remove this text view control. What you needed? I need the button, so I'm just writing here button. I need the one button. Now you have to define the properties for your button. What will be the width for your button? You can even write down 100 pixel, huh? But we don't need in the pixel. Basically we need I'm just writing here match parent. Match parent mean that so the first property we have the width. Match parent mean that up to the length of up to the width of the button will be the up to the length of the activity. So I'm just selecting here match parent, and then wrap content mean up to the size of text. The height of button will be up to the size of my text. This is the one thing. And close the text just by writing the closing angle. It will automatically put the closing tag for the button. Beside this, you have to give a one proper name for your button. So I'm just writing here Android ID, and then do not type. One of the beautiful things of the Android thing is just giving you the hint automatically. So just write down ID and then enter. Now at the rate ID, and then again enter. Now what will be the ID? ID will be click button. This is the button name, and now this is the ID of the button. Now what text do you want to display on the top of the button? So then you have to write down here Android text. So text will be click button. So now you can just see on the design we will have here one button at the top. You can just see the width. Width is basically we have just used there match parent, and you can just see the height. The height is wrap content. Height is up to the size of the text. Now if you want that, like, this control should be here, but look, I'm just dragging, it's not changing the place. So this is not the way. This way you cannot change. This way, and the one more thing you can just see is touching the boundary of the activity, top, left, right, and bottom we have already a little bit of space, but I want that it should not touch the boundary of the activity. It should be little bit down from the top. So this way, if you need a little bit of space, then on the activity, then there are some property, just like I'm just writing here, margin top, margin margin top 10 dp. Huh? DP is basically um, measurement unit. Android uh, layout margin left, margin left 10 dp, margin left 10. Okay, let's rewrite. I think there is some typing mistake. Okay, margin left 10 dp. Furthermore, then I'm writing here margin right, margin right 10 dp. Bottom, although we do not need it, but if you're writing, so then write down margin bottom 10 dp. So now you can just see here, it is not touching the boundary. It's not touching the boundary. Let me just increase the size from 10 to, let's say, 30, so that it should be more clear for you. You can just see right now. Okay, you can just see here we have the few space. Now look, this is space. You can just see from the top, from the left, from the, so this way basically you can just, now if I'm just dragging right now, still it's, you cannot drag it. Basically you have to define everything in the XML manually, and I'm just writing here. Okay, now here Android margin top, margin top, okay, 200 dp, 200 dp. So now this is from the top, 200 point is basically below. If you need little bit more down, so you can increase that thing. Okay, done. Now we have here the click button. Okay, I want that when someone click on the click button, it should display the message, uh, welcome to my first application. Now the code we cannot write down in the XML. Code we cannot write down in the XML. You have to click on the main activity.java, and now here within on create we have to write down our code. Okay, first of all, I'm just declaring here the one object, because we want that when someone click on the button. So first of all, you need that button. You should also keep in your mind what is the name of the button. The name of the button is click button, click button. So I am just writing here button my btn equal to, now conversion type, find view by id, find view by id. This way, like if you want to access any control of the activity, you have to use this class. Now find view by id, r dot id. Now what is r? R is basically your journal resource, your journal resource. Anything, whatever the control you have. Let's say how many controls so far we have only one control. Let's say here we have 2 control, 3 control, 4 control, 5 control. So the all control, whatever the control you have on the activity, it's goes directly to the R resource. It's going automatically to the R resource. So then you have to write down r.id dot click button. Now this is my button. Now what you want to do, I want to perform the action my btn dot set on click listener, my btn dot set on click list, my btn click, when someone click, so click is an event set on click listener. Now new object, declare the object of your click listener, and view, just press here v, just press here V, capital V, and then it's coming automatically. View, basically click listener exists within the view class. So I'm declaring the one object of click listener of view class. So and then what you have to do, You have to just write down here capital V, shift, and then V, and then press enter. Do not type, do not type, just press enter, and the click event will come automatically. And now we have the click event. So what you want to do on the click event, I want to display the message. For displaying message, we have to declare the object of, we have to declare object of, object of toast class, object of toast class. For single line commits, we are using this symbol. For multi-line commits, we are using slash static multi-line commits. Hmm? Let's say once again I'm just writing second line, third line, and then we have the closing. So this is for multi-line commits. Now toast, I'm just writing here. So first of all, just write down here toast, which is class, and toast small t, which is object. Even you can write down here obj toast, but it's better to use the same name. Now toast dot make text. Toast dot make text is basically the function. Make text need three parameter. Number one, which is context. Number second, what text do you want to display, which is called character sequence, and duration, for how long do you want to display. So first of all, the context mean that it's need basically the three parameter. Number one, which is context. Number second, which is text, what text do you want to display, and number third, which is called duration, for how long do you want to display. So first of all, about the context, so let's declare here the one object of the context, and just you have to press here alt enter to import the library of the context. Now context is the object name, and I'm just storing here get application context. We, context mean that where you want to display your application. Is it inside your application, or it is the domain of any other application? Basically, it's just defining the domain of your application. I want to display my application inside my own app. Just like, for example, let's say I'm just going to create a one table for the student. So in the student, what are the different column do we need? We need the student ID, student name, and father name, date of birth. Look, for example, if in the student table, if I will just add the one column patient name, so what do you think? Patient name belongs to student domain? No, it does not belong. So context mean that the domain of your application. So I want to display my application. I want to display my message within this application. So get application context, get the domain of my application. This is the context. Number second, which is what text do you want to display? So text, I'm just writing here str, welcome to first Android application. This is the text, and duration, for how long do you want to display. And the final thing is we have here duration. So I'm just writing here declaring the one object duration, and I'm writing here toast dot, we we have two kind of duration, which is the by default is available. One is a short and the one is a long. If you will select the short, it will display your message for 2 seconds. If you will select long, it will display your message for 3.5 seconds. So let's select the short. Short is more than enough, but if someone cannot see it immediately, then you can even use the uh, length will be long. Finally, let's declare here the one object toast, and the toast is the object toast dot make text, and now it's need the three parameter. Number one, which is the context. The context we have already stored in the context object. Then text we have in the str, and the duration we have here. And finally, I'm just writing here toast dot show. Show is a function show you the functions of the toast class, which will display your message. So everything has been done. So just finally you have to select the emulator from here. I'm just selecting the lower version. I have already downloaded the 2 version and provided you in the last class. So let me just select this version and then click on the play button, and you will see it will take a little bit time to load your application, starting AVD and loading your application, and will display the result in the emulator. Okay, you can just see here it is loaded successfully, and just clicking on the click button is just displaying here uh, welcome to first Android application. If you want to display your message for a little longer, then instead of short you can use here long, and stop and again play. It's not loaded yet. You have to wait until it's not loading your application successfully. It will take some time, makes around 20 seconds or might be 30 seconds to load your application successfully. Now it is loaded. Now you can just see it's displaying message for the little longer, for 3.5 seconds. Previously it was just for the 2 seconds. Fine, done. So finally this is the Toast application. Now let's go back to the second part of the lecture, which is intents. So first of all I will explain the intents, and then we will make a two small application for implicit and explicit intents.